You hear the ice breathing above you. Not cracking, not breaking. Breathing. A deep, slow groan rolls through the cavern, makes the ground under your knees shiver. Frost sifts down from the ceiling in a glittering curtain, catching the beam of your flashlight as it shakes in your hand. You taste iron on your tongue. It takes a second to realize you've bitten the inside of your cheek. You don't move. Because if you move, the ceiling might decide it's tired of holding its own weight. The wolf is still there. It stands 5 meters away, between you and the narrow slit of blue-white light that marks the exit. Its fur is a shadow turned solid, silver threaded through dark, like moonlight caught in smoke. Steam curls from its muzzle in quiet bursts. Its eyes reflect your beam, not yellow, not red, but a pale, cold green that looks almost human in this light. It should have run when the ice first shifted. Any normal animal would have bolted. Instead, it came closer. Now it watches you like it's waiting for you to do something very specific, as if this moment has been rehearsed, again and again, in a script you were never shown. The cavern exhales again. A distant crack echoes through the ice, somewhere deeper, somewhere unseen. The sound crawls along the walls and settles in your ribs. You plant one gloved hand on the frozen ground and drag yourself a little nearer to the thing in front of you. The object jutting from the ice wall. It's why you came in here, why you followed the wolf off the marked path, why you ignored 20 years of training that once taught you to evaluate, calculate, stay in control. You angle your flashlight closer. There, trapped in the glassy blue, is a dull metallic curve. At first, you thought it was just another rock, another frozen piece of debris the glacier decided to swallow decades ago. But when your beam hit it, your stomach did something impossible. Because you recognized it. Not the type of object. The object itself. You lean closer. Your breath fogs the ice in front of you, blurring the shape, then clearing again. You can see it clearly now, pressed just beneath the surface, as though it's waiting to be pressed into a palm. A dog tag. The chain is twisted, one link kinked like it's been caught in a door. The tag itself is angled slightly downward. You know the weight of that metal. You know the exact curve of its corners, the way it rests against a sternum when you jog, when you sweat, when you sleep on your back because it digs in if you roll to the side. You know it because you wore one for years. You know it because this is yours. You can see your own name stamped into the steel. Your name's your number, your blood type. It can't be here. You hear your pulse in your ears now, loud enough to drown out the ever-present hum of glacier wind. You reach toward the ice, stopping just before contact, fingers hovering. The cold radiating from the wall stings even through the thick glove. You swallow. The air in here tastes like old snow and something faintly chemical, like preserved time. You tap the ice. The sound is small, sharp, swallowed instantly. The wolf's ears flick at the noise. It shifts its weight, not away from you, but a little to the side, giving you a clearer path back toward the exit if you want it. You should want it. You should be backing out of this creaking tunnel and radioing in, reporting an unstable formation, logging coordinates, doing anything except kneeling on the belly of a moving glacier staring at proof that the world has stopped making sense. You don't go. You press your palm flat against the ice. It bites, the chill shoots through fabric into bone. You keep it there anyway, like pressure will steady the wild, off-balance tilt inside your skull. You remember the last time you wore that dog tag. Except no, you don't remember all of it. There's a room, fluorescent lights, a paper on a metal clipboard, a hand sliding the chain off your neck, a joke about finally free of this thing, laughter that doesn't quite reach your ears because your head is full of static, a box, the tag going into it, a lid closing. Then nothing. You know logically that the tag should be in a storage facility, or forgotten in someone's drawer, or lying in a cardboard box under your own bed. It should not be entombed in an Arctic glacier thousands of kilometers from any place you've ever called home. You lean your helmet against the ice just for a second, closing your eyes. Your forehead stings where the cold seeps through plastic and padding. The hum of wind outside has dulled to a low, constant moan, like the world is trying not to disturb whatever is happening here. You count. 1, 2, 3. On 8, you open your eyes again. The wolf is closer. You didn't hear it move. Its paws are nearly silent on the packed snow and ice, just the faintest scrape when its claws find purchase. Now it's 3 meters away, close enough that you can see frost clinging to the fur around its muzzle, the way its breath curls and disperses in the narrow shaft of light from the exit. It's not baring its teeth, not growling, not even wary. It looks expectant. You're not supposed to be here, you murmur, the words fogging in front of your face. The wolf tilts its head, as if considering that idea. The glacier answers for it, a deep booming shift from somewhere above, like a drum being struck with the side of a world. The sound vibrates through your chest and knocks loose the first real spike of survival instinct you felt all day. You flinch back from the ice. Behind you, a sheet of frost tumbles from the ceiling, shattering on the ground where your knees were moments ago. Shards skitter out in every direction, chiming against the frozen floor. Okay, you breathe. Okay. You push yourself to your feet, the motion stiff, joints complaining. The years since the service haven't been kind to your knees, and the cold makes every old injury speak up. Your flashlight beam swings wildly, catching glittering walls, frozen bubbles of trapped air, the faint reflection of your own visor. The dog tag glints dully in the ice. You should leave, come back with gear, with a team, with some kind of explanation. You should pretend you never saw it at all. You take a step toward it. Not away. The wolf doesn't block you. It shifts again, this time toward the exit, lowering its head, eyes flicking between you and the slit of blue light, like it's urging you to hurry. You stop at the wall. Your glove drags across the ice, searching for a weakness, a fracture line, some hint that this isn't as solid as it seems. The surface here is clean, clear, like glass fresh from the mold. No cracks, no veins, nothing. Who put you here, you whisper, though you're staring at your own name. You can picture the letters without reading them. You've traced them idly enough times, sitting on bunks, waiting for orders, killing time in dusty tents with nothing but your breath and the clink of metal for company. Another tremor ripples through the cavern. This one is sharper, closer. The light at the exit flickers. Not literally, that's impossible. It's daylight, however muted by the polar night's long twilight band, streaming through the narrow opening where you squeezed in. But for a moment, everything dims, like a cloud passed over the sun that isn't there. Your chest tightens. You notice then the fine crack running just above the dog tag, a thin white line, almost invisible until the flashlight hits it at the right angle. It snakes across the ceiling, disappearing into darkness, like a hairline fracture in glass. You take one involuntary step back. The wolf's hackles rise. It lifts its muzzle and lets out a low, rolling sound, not a full howl, not quite a growl, something in between, a warning someone forgot to translate into human language. You've heard sounds like that on other nights in other places, not from wolves, from men. You feel it in the same place. Another breath from the glacier, louder. Snow dust erupts from the ceiling in little puffs. A chunk of ice the size of a helmet dislodges and slams into the ground between you and the exit, sending a spray of shards up into your visor. You flinch, raising an arm. Your heart stutters and finds a new rhythm, faster, harder. Right, you say, time to go. You turn toward the exit. The wolf hasn't moved away. It's closer again, tail level, eyes steady. It looks past you, to the wall where your tag is frozen, then back to you. Then it does something you've never seen a wild animal do, not outside the soft-edged nature documentaries, where everything is edited to feel gentle. It takes a deliberate step toward the wall, plants one paw on the ice, and presses. The gesture is slow, intentional, as if it's showing you how. You stare. The ice under its paw doesn't crack. Of course it doesn't, but there's something in the way its weight settles, the way its shoulder muscles tense, that makes something in you shift in answer. This is ridiculous, you think. And yet, you move back to the wall. Your palm rests beside its paw, your glove stark white next to its dark fur, separated by only millimeters of frozen water. Your fingers spread, feeling for any faint give, any soft spot in this ancient, unyielding thing. Open up, you mutter, half to the ice, half to whatever part of your life is sealed behind it, just a little. Your voice comes out rawer than you expect. There's a hiss, soft and strange. For a split second, you think it's in your head. Then you realize it's under your hand. The ice beneath your palm feels different, not softer, not warmer, but alive in the way a river underfoot feels different from stone even when you're standing on a thick winter sheet. You press harder. The hiss becomes a whispering crackle, like distant static on an old radio. Tiny white lines spider out from under your glove, threading toward the dog tag, chalk veins in blue glass. You snatch your hand back on instinct. The crack lines keep going, straight toward your name. The glacier chooses that moment to remind you that it is older, heavier, and far less concerned with your personal revelations than you are. A thunderclap of breaking ice booms from the rear of the cavern. The ground bucks under your boots. A fissure tears open somewhere in the darkness behind you, the sound like the world ripping its own skin. Your body reacts before you think. You lunge toward the exit. Snow and ice explode around you as chunks fall from the ceiling. One glances off your shoulder, spinning you sideways. Your flashlight flies from your grip, beam pinwheeling wildly, throwing crazed shadows across the walls. You hit the ground hard enough that your teeth slam together. Cold blasts in from the exit, a sharper wind that tastes of open air and imminent danger. Through the ringing in your ears, you hear a high, keening sound. The wolf. You roll, pushing up to your knees, vision swimming. The exit is narrower now, partly choked by fallen ice. Beyond it, the sky is a deep, bruised purple, the first streaks of green hinting at aurora starting to unfurl. The wolf is at the gap, already squeezed halfway through, looking back at you. Its eyes catch the faint outside light. You start toward it. Then you hear another sound. A single clear ping behind you. Metal on ice. You stop. Slowly, against every screaming instinct in your body, you turn your head. The beam of your dropped flashlight has come to rest pointing straight at the wall. The crack lines have reached your dog tag. And the tag is no longer fully sealed in the ice. One corner has broken free, jutting out into the cavern, as if someone on the other side just pushed it through. It sways gently on its chain. You stare at it. Because hanging behind your tag, still partially embedded in the ice, is another one. Same metal, same shape. Different name. A name you haven't spoken aloud in years. A name you know should be buried on the far side of the world. The glacier groans again, louder, closer, the sound of something massive deciding it might finally be time to move. The exit shrinks by another few centimeters as more ice crumbles. The wolf barks once, sharp, urgent. The tag swings, catching a sliver of dim light, flashing like a tiny mirror. You're going to have to choose. Grab the impossible proof of a past you thought was finished. Or get out before the glacier closes its throat around you. And you know, though you can't yet say how, that whatever you choose in the next 3 seconds will decide why the wolf wouldn't leave you. You move before you decide. Your feet slam into the ice, legs driving you toward the wall instead of the exit. It's the kind of choice you used to make when everything was noise and sand and heat. Go toward the thing that makes the least sense and hope your body holds together long enough to justify it. The tags swing gently, one free, one still half buried. Another tremor rips through the cavern. The roof sheds more chunks, some small enough to ping off your helmet, others big enough that if they landed on you, you'd be part of this glacier forever. 3 seconds, you rasp. You don't know who you're talking to. Maybe yourself. Maybe the ice. Maybe the ghost whose name is trapped behind your own. You hit the wall hard enough that your shoulder protests. Focus narrows to a single point, that sliver of metal catching the light. Your glove closes around the tag that bears your name. It's colder than the surrounding ice, an impossible kind of chill that feels almost hot from the shock of it. The chain tugs. The second tag jerks against the ice, still embedded. Above you, a split races along the crack like lightning. You plant your other hand against the wall for leverage and yank. The world responds. The dog tag comes free with a tearing sound, like fabric ripping in slow motion. A spray of frost explodes from the wall as a chunk of ice crumbles away, revealing more of the second tag. For a heartbeat, you see the full name stamped there. You know every letter. You've seen them stitched on uniforms, scribbled on the back of postcards, carved into a cross in a desert graveyard the day they told you he wasn't coming home. The ground lurches. This is no echo anymore. The glacier has decided. A slab of ceiling crashes down where you were kneeling moments ago, splitting in two when it hits the floor. Shards scythe past your legs. one glances off your thigh. You feel the dull impact through the thick suit, a promise of bruises later, if there is a later. The tags jerk in your grip. You don't have the luxury to finesse the second one free. You hook a finger around the exposed edge and pull with everything left in your arm. The metal chain snaps. The second tag stays partially lodged in the ice, only a third of it protruding, like the glacier is reluctant to surrender its secrets all at once. You stumble back, your tag clenched in a fist. A short length of broken chain dangles from it, ends jagged and twisted. The other tag hangs motionless, still anchored by whatever is behind that wall of frozen time. You feel an animal sound tear up your throat, something between a curse and a name. The wolf barks again, louder, a sharp crack of sound that cuts through the thunder of shifting ice. You spin toward the exit. The opening is smaller now. You see daylight, thin, bluish, fading fast as more debris slumps from above. The wolf has already slipped through to the outside, only its rear half visible for a moment before it vanishes. You run. Your boots slide on loose ice chips, nearly dropping you as your balance wavers. You slam a hand into the wall to keep from falling, fingers scraping against frozen ridges. Pain arcs up your wrist, you ignore it. The cavern is collapsing behind you. You don't have to look to know. You can hear it, the cascading roar, the grinding groan of tons of ice settling into new positions, the sharp detonations of chunks hitting the floor. You lunge for the exit. The gap is tighter than you remember. Your shoulder scrapes hard against one side, your oxygen tank scrapes the other. For a horrifying second you feel pinned, wedged between two immovable surfaces while the glacier decides whether to keep you. You shove. Suit fabric squeals against rough ice. A smear of blue paint from your tank streaks the wall. Your ribs compress, your muscles burn. Something in your lower back spasms, a short white flare of pain. And then you're out. You tumble forward onto the glacier's surface, hands shooting out to break your fall. Snow sprays into the air around you. Your helmet smacks the ground, cracking the thin crust and burying your visor in powder. For a moment, all you see is white. All you hear is your own ragged breathing, amplified inside your helmet. You push yourself upright, coughing, vision clearing as snow slides off the visor. Behind you, the entrance to the cavern belches a last plume of ice dust and then settles. The opening is gone. Where there was once a dark slit in the glacier's flank, there is now only a rough, uneven slope of compacted snow and shattered ice boulders. You can still hear movement beneath the surface, creaks and pops and distant booms, but whatever hollow space you were just inside has sealed. Like it never existed. Your hand is still clenched. You uncoil your fingers slowly. The dog tag lies in your palm. Your name is stamped across the surface in simple, blocky letters. The steel is scuffed, a little discolored at the edges, as if it has been through a lifetime you weren't present for. The broken chain sways slightly from your panting. Wind knifes across the glacier, sliding under your gear, probing every gap for warmth. You feel sweat cooling along your spine, making the cold twice as vicious. A low shape moves at the edge of your vision. The wolf stands a short distance away, upwind, silhouetted against the deepening twilight. The sky behind it has shifted while you were inside. The first curtains of green have unfurled, thin and ghostly, running from one horizon to the other like someone has peeled back reality to show what's underneath. The animal watches you. You have the sudden impression that it was never concerned about its own safety in that cavern, only about yours. You slip the tag into a zippered chest pocket, close to your heart, feeling the faint weight settle there like a small, dense truth. You know better than to stay standing near a recent collapse. The surface here is compromised, latticed with hidden cracks that could open under you without warning. You take a few steps back, boots crunching through old snow into the more stable, packed trail you followed earlier. Flags stab up from the ice at regular intervals, border markers and safety guides flickering in the sharp wind. None of them point toward where you just were, because no one knew that cave existed. You glance at the spot where the opening was. Your brain keeps trying to place it, catalog it, file it into some known structure learned from training manuals and safety briefings. Crevasse, melt channel, sublimation hollow. It refuses to stay in any of those folders. Your radio crackles, sudden and harsh in the quiet. You startle, hand flying to the unit clipped to your chest. A burst of static dissolves into a familiar voice, tinny and distant. Read me, hey old man, you still upright out there. You thumb the transmit button. Still here, you say. Your voice sounds rough, little busy. Busy doing what? The voice belongs to Lena, one of the younger researchers at the station. You picture her leaning over the console, boots propped on a rung, the ever-present knitted cap jammed down over her hair. You're off the grid. GPS says you walked into solid ice half an hour ago. You look at the sealed slope. Just surveying, you reply. There's a short pause. You can almost hear the frown. In the dark, without telling anyone, that's not the safety briefing I remember. You scan the horizon. The station is a low smudge in the distance, partially hidden by a slight rise in the ice. A scatter of orange lights marks the windows. Smoke from the generator exhaust trails into the sky and then vanishes into the bruised air. Lost track of time, you say. It's not technically a lie. You need me to send a sled, Lena asks. Your gaze drifts back to the spot where your past is frozen 5 meters beneath the surface. The urge to go back and dig with your bare hands shivers through you with almost physical force. You imagine chisels, drills, heat guns. You imagine the ice giving way to reveal the full length of chain, both tags, maybe something else. You know that's not happening tonight. No, you say, I can make it back. Copy that, don't fall into anything, yeah. I just made coffee and I'm not wasting it on a memorial service. The corner of your mouth twitches. I'll keep that in mind. You release the transmit button. The radio crackles once more and goes quiet, settling back into a low hum. The world rushes in to fill the silence. Wind, the faint, distant grind of the glacier shifting, the soft rasp of your own movements. The wolf hasn't left. It studies you for another long moment, then turns its head toward the interior of the ice field, away from the station, away from the safety flags. Its ears twitch. It takes a step in that direction. Then it looks back. The meaning is clear. You're not done. You check your watch without really seeing the numbers. You do the math anyway. How far you are from the station, how long the light will hold, how quickly the temperature will drop when the last thin strip of sun finally slips below the horizon line that never seems to move. You should go back. Warm bunk, bad coffee, familiar routines, a comfortable number of lies about how your day went. Your hand lifts toward your chest without thinking. You press your fingers against the pocket where the dog tag rests. The metal is a small, cold square of certainty. It sits there like proof that someone else knows your story better than you do. The other name behind it sits in your thoughts like a gravity well. That's what tips the scales. You step away from the flagged trail. The crunch under your boots sounds different out here. Not the solid, reassuring thunk of well-tested surfaces, but a more hollow, unpredictable noise. Every step becomes deliberate. You probe ahead with each foot, spreading your weight, remembering old minefield training where the ground held secrets you couldn't see. The wolf waits until you're within 10 meters, then begins to move. It keeps a careful distance, always just far enough ahead that you can see its shape clearly, never so close you could touch it. Sometimes it veers slightly, skirting around snowdrifts or open cracks, always choosing a line that is somehow safe without ever being marked. You follow. The wind intensifies as you crest a gentle rise. The station drops out of sight behind you. There's a moment, standing on that invisible line, where all you would need to do is turn and walk back down, and everything behind you could become a strange story you tell once in a bar, then never mention again. You don't turn. You let the wolf lead you over the crest and onto another part of the glacier you've never mapped. The world feels bigger on this side. The aurora strengthens overhead, fat bands of green turning to hints of purple at the edges, rippling slowly like some great luminous curtain breathing above you. The light on the snow shifts with it, casting ghostly shapes that move when nothing on the ground does. Ahead, the ice field changes character. At first it's subtle, small mounds, tiny undulations where the wind has carved drifts. Then gradually, the flat plain gives way to a landscape of shallow depressions and raised ridges, like frozen waves. Here and there, dark lines slice through the white, a hint of crevasse mouths, cracks that could be 10 centimeters deep or 10 meters. You slow, measuring each step twice. The wolf weaves through this terrain like it was born from it. It doesn't hesitate at the dark lines. It knows where the bridges are thick and where the thin crust hides chasms. You realize, distantly, that you are trusting this animal with your life. You've trusted stranger guides in stranger places. A shape rises out of the ice ahead. At first you think it's just another drift higher than the others, but as you get closer, you see edges at the base that are too straight, a curve too clean to be natural. A low dome, half swallowed by snow, juts from the glacier's surface like the top of a buried building. Your breath slows. You know what this is. Not this one specifically, but the type. Old emergency shelter, maybe. A field lab from a previous expedition. This region has hosted more than one country's science projects over the decades. Some of them were never fully decommissioned. Some were simply left. Of course, you murmur. The wolf stops near the dome, paws sinking slightly into the softer snow that drifts up against its side. It sits calmly, tail curling around its feet, and looks at you. Its posture is almost casual, like it's brought you to the front door of a house. A bent metal door juts from the side of the dome, half buried. Rust has eaten into the hinges, staining the surrounding snow a faint orange in places where meltwater once ran and froze again. A faded logo adorns the door, letters so worn you can't immediately read them. You clear away some of the snow with your boot. The paint underneath is chipped but legible. It's not the logo of your current station. It's not your country's colors either. It's another flag, another acronym, one you haven't seen in years but recognize from news reports, old briefings, patches on uniforms of men you served alongside. Men like the one whose name is still in that ice. Your stomach gives a slow, measured lurch. You lean closer, squinting at a line of stenciled text beneath the logo. Field Station HARRIS Ridge, decommissioned. The last word is barely there, letters faded almost to nothing. Harris. The name lands in your head like a dropped stone. Not the same as the one on the half-frozen tag, but close enough that the echo of it vibrates down into memories you've tried to keep neatly shelved. The wolf shifts, paws padding softly in place. It glances at the door, then at you, then back again. The meaning is as clear as it was at the collapsed cavern. This is where you're supposed to go next. You straighten, snow creaking under your boots. The sensible part of your mind, the part that still keeps tally of risks and resources, begins reciting a list. The station doesn't know your true coordinates. You're following an animal into an uncharted zone. The structure could be unstable. The temperature is dropping. You could turn around. Walk back over the rise. Call Lena. Make up some story about getting turned around in low visibility. Hand in your GPS logs. Dump the tag in a drawer and never look at it again. You place your hand against your chest. The metal presses back through layers of fabric, a silent, insistent weight. You're not the kind of man who walked away when a comrade went missing. You're not sure you can be the kind of man who walks away now. Your gloved fingers curl around the frozen handle of the door. It resists at first, stuck with layers of ice and years of not being touched. You brace your feet, pulling harder. The hinges protest with a long, groaning squeal that disappears quickly into the vastness around you. The seal breaks. A gust of stale, trapped air brushes your face as the door cracks open, a smell of old wiring, dried rubber, and something else you can't place yet. The wolf stands. It takes a step toward the dark gap, then stops at the threshold, eyes fixed on the gloom inside as if it remembers what you'll find there. You're standing at the entrance to a forgotten station with a wild animal as your only witness, holding proof in your pocket that the past you buried has somehow followed you to the most remote ice on Earth. You know, as your hand tightens on the handle, that once you cross this line, you are not just a contractor on a seasonal job anymore. You're a man answering a call that started long before this winter. You pull the door wide and step into the darkness Harris Ridge has been guarding for decades. The darkness in the doorway isn't empty. It feels waiting. You stand just inside the threshold of Harris Ridge, one hand still gripping the cold metal handle, the other hovering near your chest pocket as if the dog tag inside it might leap out and guide you. A faint, dusty draft brushes your face, air that hasn't moved in years, maybe decades. The wolf doesn't enter. It stands at your side, close enough that you feel heat rising from its body in soft pulses. Its ears are rigid, angled forward. Every muscle is alert. You get the sense it's not afraid of what's inside, only aware of what it might wake. You tap your helmet light on. A narrow cone of white slices through the gloom, falling on a metal corridor no wider than a hallway in a cheap motel. The walls are lined with frost, thick in some places, thin as onion skin in others. Condensation has frozen in strange veins around the wiring conduits, like the building has grown its own network of arteries. The smell hits you fully now. Old paper, mold, rubber that's cracked and brittle with age, a faint metallic tang, as if something once heated has long since cooled into memory. Your breath fogs before your visor. You step forward. Snow crunches under your boots for just a moment, then your soles meet metal flooring, painted once upon a time, but now flaking into pale chips. Your light catches on a row of storage lockers half-collapsed along the right wall, their doors buckled inward from some unknown pressure. You angle the light at one. The stenciled lettering is faded, but still legible. Equipment Unit 3. Unit. Not team, not crew, not station staff. Unit is a military word. Your stomach shifts again. You sweep the beam along the corridor. At the end, 20 meters ahead, a doorway yawns open into blackness. A broken emergency sign hangs above it, one corner drooping and swaying slightly in the breeze from the outer door you left open. You turn to check if the wolf is still beside you. It's not. It's sitting just outside the threshold, staring in at you but not crossing the line. Its posture isn't fearful, more like respectful or cautious in a way you recognize from patrol dogs, those moments when they sense something you didn't yet see. A quiet breath leaves you. I'll be back, you tell it. Its ears flick, acknowledging but not believing. You start deeper into the corridor. The air grows colder the farther you go. The building hums faintly, not electricity, not machinery, but the wind outside passing over vents and old ducts, creating a low whistling that mimics distant voices. You try to ignore the shiver that crawls along your spine. The first door you investigate is half open. You push it with one gloved hand, and it swings in easily on silent hinges. The room inside is small, roughly the size of a barracks bunk space. Your light reveals two cot frames, bare metal, no mattresses. A rusted footlocker sits at the end of one, lid cracked open. Papers are scattered across the floor, some frozen into the rust flakes, others fluttering faintly in the chilled draft. You kneel, picking up the nearest sheet. The ink has bled outward, the edges crisped with frost, but you can make out enough. A date in the corner, 1987. A line beneath it. Harris Ridge Unit reclassified, personnel rotation delayed until. The rest dissolves into illegible smudges, as though someone spilled water long before the cold claimed the room. You pick up another page. Handwritten notes, sharp, fast strokes, the kind of handwriting produced under pressure. No external contact since. Animals restless near perimeter. We keep hearing. The sentence ends abruptly, as if the writer's hand lifted mid-thought. You stand. Something presses at the edge of your memory, too faint to shape, like a face you might recognize if it turned your direction. You move on. The next room is a small mess hall, chairs overturned. A metal tray lies upside down, its contents a freeze-dried brick fused to the floor. A mug still sits on a counter, preserved perfectly except for the handle snapped clean off. You picture someone dropping it, hard, and walking away. Your helmet light flickers slightly, not power loss, just cold battery strain. You adjust the angle. A glint catches your eye. You walk to the far wall. Pinned beneath a collapsed shelf is a photograph. You crouch, brushing away shards of plastic and ice until it comes free. A group of men stand shoulder to shoulder, the photo faded but intact enough for features to hold. Your throat locks. You recognize the uniform pattern, not your old unit, but one you worked alongside overseas, long ago in a place that baked heat into your bones. You scan the faces. One stands out. A familiar angle of jaw, a crooked smirk he never fixed, eyes that always squinted slightly in photographs, like he was laughing at something no one else saw. You whisper the name. The name on the half-frozen tag in the cavern. Colton. Saying it aloud moves something loose inside your chest, like a latch shifting. You look closer. The photograph has a handwritten note across the bottom. Ridge rotation, Colton says it'll be easy work. You replay the sentence twice. Colton was never assigned to Arctic duty. Not according to any deployment log you ever saw. You tuck the photo into your jacket without thinking. You need it, proof this isn't a hallucination or a glitch or some elaborate trick of memory. You step back into the hallway. The air seems colder now. The wind outside howls louder, slipping under the door seams with a serpentine hiss. The walls creak as the temperature drops even further. You approach the large doorway at the end of the hall. Even before your light reaches it, you can feel the shift in the air. This room is bigger, deeper, holding something more than dust and forgotten supplies. Your steps slow automatically. You pass through. Your light expands into a cavernous chamber. Rows of equipment lie half-buried under frost. Metal tables, old generators, stacks of crates marked with faded warnings, electronic calibration, CRYOMETRIC storage, do not move without authorization. If you didn't know this place had been abandoned for decades, you might think everyone left in a hurry. Your beam catches a series of footprints in the frost. Not yours, not new, but unmistakably human. They laid toward the far side of the room. Your pulse stumbles. You follow them. Each step crunches loud enough that it feels wrong in the silence. The footsteps ahead have melted slightly into the frosted floor, suggesting warmth once pressed into the cold, but the edges are clean, preserved. A person was here. Years ago. Months. You can't tell yet. At the far wall stands a steel door with reinforced bolts. Your beam reveals a keypad beside it, dead and lifeless, covered in a thin sheet of rime. The footprints go straight to the door. And stop. You reach out, brushing snow from the surface of the door. Underneath the frost, someone scratched letters into the metal. You angle your light. The message is shallow but desperate, jagged like it was carved with a knife or broken tool. Follow the wolves. Your pulse spikes hard. Your breath fogs the visor in a fast burst. You lean closer, reading the line again. The grooves are deep. They repeat in some places, as though the writer was panicking or weakening. You whisper to the empty room, "Then why led me here?" A soft sound behind you makes you spin. Not a crash. Not a footstep. A click. Like a switch being toggled. Your beam darts across the chamber. Nothing moves. Then the temperature drops another degree, cold sliding under your suit like a blade pressed to the skin. You exhale, watching the fog drift upward, slow and thick. Something is wrong in this room. Wrong in a way you can't yet articulate. You lift your light and sweep across the ceiling. And freeze. Condensation above the steel door, thick enough to bead into droplets, has begun to thaw. A slow trickle runs downward. Water. You know what that means. Something behind the door is producing heat. Heat or movement. You back away a step, pulse crawling into your throat. Then something shifts in the shadows near the entrance. The wolf slips into the doorway, finally crossing the threshold of the station. Its fur bristles, its stance stiffens. A low sound rumbles from deep in its chest, not a warning to you, but a response to something deeper in the station. Its eyes are fixed on the door with the scratched message. Follow the wolves. The wolf takes another step, shoulders raised, gaze unwavering. It's not guiding you now. It's guarding you. Protecting you. From whatever waits behind that bolted steel door. You swallow hard, tasting metal again. Your dog tag presses against your chest, as if remembering something you haven't yet faced. You whisper, "What did they do here?" The wolf's ears flatten slightly. A soft, rhythmic thud echoes behind the steel door. Once, twice, slow, deliberate. Then the faint scrape of something heavy shifting its weight. Your heart stops for a beat. Someone is inside. Waiting. And for the first time since stepping into Harris Ridge, you feel truly, deeply unsure whether you should have followed the wolf at all. The thud behind the steel door doesn't stop. It repeats, not loud, just steady, a slow heartbeat of impact echoing through metal thick enough to withstand storms, pressure shifts, even structural collapse. Your breath halts halfway up your throat. You've heard sounds like that before, restrained, rhythmic, deliberate, not frantic, not random, something or someone maintaining a pattern. The wolf stiffens. It steps beside you, not ahead this time, as if choosing to stand at your flank the way a trained partner might. Its shoulder brushes your suit lightly. That small, warm contact anchors you more than you want to admit. The beast is silent, but everything in its posture screams one thing. Don't approach that door. You take one slow step anyway. The wolf growls, low, soft, almost mournful. You freeze. The thud stops. The entire station goes quiet. Even the wind outside seems to pause, letting the silence stretch tight across the room like a sheet pulled taut. Your helmet fogs with slow, cold breath. You lift a gloved hand and wipe the visor clear. Nothing moves. Then, a slide. Metal dragging against metal from the other side of the door, not scratching, not pounding. Dragging. Whatever is in there is shifting position, and the sound has weight, heavy weight, the kind that suggests mass and intent. Your pulse staggers. You take another step back. The wolf's growl shifts tone, less warning, more agreement, as if relieved you finally listened. You turn your light to the keypad beside the door. The frozen screen is dead, covered in a glaze of frost. You brush it with your glove, some of the ice flakes away, revealing a numeric pad with a worn send button. The paint has been rubbed down to bare metal from years of use. Someone accessed this door frequently. Someone kept coming back to whatever lies beyond it. You run your fingers across the gouged warning again. Follow the wolves. You whisper the words under your breath, testing their shape. Your mind flickers back to the cavern, the dog tag lodged in ice, the second tag with Colton's name, the fractures spreading like veins. Why would anyone connect wolves to this? What did they know? Why leave the message carved here, not outside where someone might actually read it in time? You look down at the wolf again. It meets your gaze with a steady, unnervingly aware look. Not wild, not tame. Something in between. You've seen animals look at you with hunger, with fear, with instinctive calculation. You've never seen one look at you like it's trying to stop you from making a mistake. You whisper, were you part of this? The wolf's ears tilt back. Not guilt, recognition. It's a look you've seen on soldiers who know exactly where a bullet will land but can't say it out loud. You walk away from the door. The wolf follows. It pads beside you as you cross the equipment chamber, moving with quiet, precise steps. Not once does it take the lead. It wants you focused, not on the sealed room, but something else. You reach the far wall where shelves have collapsed under the weight of frost. A cascade of old crates lies half submerged in powder. You kneel, brushing away snow to read the labels. Archival storage B restricted. Unit LOGS, 1985-88. Medical classified handling required. Your fingers pause. Medical. Something stirs in your gut, a memory half-formed, blurred at the edges like a distant photograph. You yank the crate closer. The lid is frozen shut. You jam your knife between the metal lip and pry. It gives with a snapping crack, showering you with brittle ice shards. Inside are plastic document envelopes. You pull the first one out. It holds a logbook, thin, water-warped, stained with time. You angle your light over the cover. Harris Ridge Medical Evaluations, primary subjects. Subjects. Not personnel, not patients. Subjects. You flip open the book. Inside, the handwriting is neat, controlled, exact. Pages are dated with the precision of scientific protocol. The first entry is short and clinical. Subject 3, behavioral variance increases in proximity to auditory stimuli. Recommend extended isolation. You flip to another. Subject 2, reflexive responses remain heightened. Temperature exposure has no significant effect. Vocalization patterns persist. Further testing delayed pending incident review. You feel your stomach knot. You flip again. The pages here are stained darker, as if someone spilled liquid once and wiped it away. The handwriting grows less controlled. Subject 5 attempted escape during power outage. Injured handler. Relocated to Chamber B. Do not enter without security clearance. Your light flicks toward the steel door. Chamber B. The thudding was coming from that room. Your blood goes cold. The wolf's growl is soft, almost sympathetic. You turn the page again. Your gloves tighten. Subject 6 shows rapid adaptation. Proximity to external elements increases awareness. Unclear if environmental or. The sentence ends mid-word. The next page is blank. And the next. And the next. You reach the back and find a loose sheet tucked behind the binding, slightly crumpled, written faster than the others. Colton says we need to stop. I don't know how long they'll keep us here after what happened. If anyone finds this, don't trust the wolves. They're not. The last word trails into a long, black smear. You read the name again in the margin. Colton. Your chest feels too small. Your breath too loud. You flip the page over. There's a number scribbled on the back, a series of digits, familiar, a frequency, a radio channel. Not one used by civilian stations. A private channel. One your old unit used. Your fingers go numb, even through gloves. You slide the notebook into your jacket and rise. The wolf is still watching you. You step closer, speaking quietly. He was here, my team, one of them. The wolf doesn't move, but something in its gaze shifts, softer, heavier. As if it already knew. You lift your radio with trembling fingers. It hisses static, no signal this deep inside the metal structure. You step back toward the hallway, moving until the static softens, then clears enough to catch a whisper of wind interference. You punch in the frequency from the note. Your thumb hesitates over the send button. You press it. A pause. Then a sound crackles through, soft, broken, almost lost beneath distortion. A voice. You phrase. Hello, you. Your lungs forget to work for a moment. That you, if you can hear me. You step closer to the entrance, antenna angled upward, desperate for clarity. Don't follow the wolves. The voice fractures in static. Then, they're not what we thought. Your heart slams into your ribs. You breathe out a single word. Colton. Static roars back. The wolf's ears swivel sharply. Its head jerks toward the side hallway, toward an adjacent door you hadn't checked yet. Its body stiffens. You hear it a second later. A new sound. Not from Chamber B. Not from outside. Something shifting in the room to your left, slow, heavy, intentional. The wolf takes one silent step toward the door, lowering itself, not to attack. To brace. Your fingers tighten around your flashlight. You aim the beam. The door stands slightly ajar, frost clinging to the hinges. You feel the weight of the dog tag in your pocket, your name pressed over your heart, the only steady thing in a place where everything else is sliding sideways. You take one step forward. The wolf does too. There is someone or something waiting in that dark room. And whatever you find next will be your first true answer. Or your first real threat. The sound from the adjacent room doesn't repeat. That's somehow worse. You stand at the threshold, breath held tight in your chest, the wolf at your side, rigid as carved stone. Its fur rises in a slow ripple along its spine, each strand lifting as if responding to an invisible current you can't feel. Your hand tightens around the flashlight. The door is slightly ajar, only a finger's width, but enough for your beam to catch the edge of something metallic inside. Not a weapon. Not machinery. A bed frame. A medical bed. You angle the light, widening the beam. The room is small, rectangular, its walls lined with peeling gray paint and old diagnostic equipment frozen under a sheen of frost. Wires hang from the ceiling in limp, brittle ropes. A cracked monitor sits dark on a counter, its buttons encased in thin ice. Another sound, soft, almost imagined, echoes from deeper inside. A shift of fabric. You open the door wider. The hinges groan, scraping a long metal sigh across the quiet. Your light crawls across the floor, revealing scuffed marks, drag lines in the frost. Something heavy was moved here not long before the place froze completely. You step inside. The wolf stays at the doorway. It doesn't stop you, but it won't cross the line. Not here. You feel the temperature drop another degree as you enter. The air is so cold your exhale hangs for a long moment before drifting upward like smoke. Your beam slides across a small table, paper charts frozen mid-ripple, a mug glued to the surface by its own spilled contents. Then you see it. The bed. Straps hang from the side rails, leather stiffened into rigid arcs. The mattress is torn open, exposing old stuffing and cracked vinyl. Something dark stains the center, crystallized in jagged shapes. Blood. Old. Frozen. But blood. You swallow hard. The scrape you heard came from the far side of the bed, behind it, near the corner where the shadows cluster thickest. You circle slowly, boots crunching across frost. Your flashlight catches a shape on the ground. A canteen. Olive green, dented along one side. You crouch and lift it, brushing ice from the metal surface. Then your pulse stops. Scratched into the bottom, deep, messy, unmistakable. Sije. Colton Grady. You sit back on your heels, the room spinning slightly. You hold the canteen to your chest for a moment, feeling its cold bite through your glove. What were you doing here? You whisper. The air shifts behind you. You turn sharply, light whipping toward the corner. A figure moves. Not fully, just a limp sway, like loose fabric stirred by a breeze you didn't feel. Your heart punches once against your ribs. You stand, shoulders squared, light steady despite the tremor building in your wrist. Who's there? Silence. You take a step forward. Your boot brushes something. You look down. Footprints. Human, bare, the prints distort in places, toes splayed slightly from cold, though some step marks show deeper pressure than any barefoot human should leave on ice. You follow them with the beam. They lead directly to the bed. Then stop, as if whoever made them climbed onto it or was dragged off of it. Your mouth goes dry. A long crack groans through the station's metal frame. You freeze, listening as old beams shift, dust drifting down from the ceiling in slow, weightless spirals. Then, a second sound. Closer. Right behind you. A breath. Warm. Too warm. You spin. Your light slams into a shape, standing inches away. Not an animal's. Not a figure. A reflection. Your own visor staring back at you from a shattered wall mirror. Your pulse crashes, relief hitting too fast, too hard, leaving you shaky. You exhale slow, letting your heart settle. But then your light catches something new in the mirror's fractured edge. Another shape, low, dark, moving behind you. The wolf. No, the wolf is still at the door. You turn, light lifting. Only frost greets you. Empty air. Bare walls. Silent bed. You step back. Your beam jittering slightly now. You've seen illusions born from stress, from cold, from oxygen fluctuations, but this wasn't your mind filling in shadows. Something moved. You know it. And the wolf knows it too. The animal's posture is unchanged, but its gaze is fixed on your face as if checking for the moment you'll finally admit it. You slowly step toward the hallway. As you cross the threshold, the wolf rises, circling you once in a tight arc. It sniffs the air near your gloves, then the canteen you still hold. Its lips curl back, not aggression, but discomfort, recognition. It smelled this before. You grip the canteen tighter and move back into the main chamber. Everything feels different now, heavier, as if the silence itself has gained weight. You set the canteen on a metal table. Behind you, a faint hiss slices through the quiet. You turn toward the source, the steel door to Chamber B. Frost blooms around the edges. But the metal itself, it's warming. A thin trail of condensation trickles downward, carving a clear path through the ice. The temperature near the door is rising rapidly, fog steaming off the bolts in ghostly curls. The wolf steps, placing itself between you and the door. The air vibrates, low and deep, a sound you don't hear so much as feel in your bones. A hand hits the other side. Fled. Human. The echo reverberates through the chamber. Once. Twice. Then. A voice. Faint, distorted, impossible. Help me. Your blood runs cold. Colton's voice was rougher, deeper. You remember his jokes, the gravel in his tone, the way he laughed from his chest. This voice. Soft. Wrong. Reverberating like it's passing through something thick. I'll open doors. The wolf snarls. It's the first true snarl you've heard from it, raw, sharp, feral. Its teeth bare in the dim light, breath fogging out in fierce bursts. It's not afraid of whatever is behind that door. It hates it. The voice comes again. Please. And the tone rises, growing more human, more desperate. Please open it, please. Your body goes still. The cadence. The inflection. It shifts, becoming a voice you know. Not from this place. Not from this cold. A voice from desert heat. From a tent lit by dying lanterns. From a day when sand stuck to sweat and the world smelled like dust and smoke. A voice you lost. Colton. Your breath stumbles, your chest tightens. You left me. Your knees nearly buckle. No, you whisper hoarsely. No, that's not possible. You left me, open the door. The voice fractures into something that isn't human anymore, too many tones at once, overlapping, like someone trying to imitate speech without understanding what makes it real. The wolf lunges at the door, slamming its paws against it, barking a deep, primal warning. Metal booms under its weight. Dust falls from the ceiling. You stumble back 2 steps, your flashlight beam scattering wildly. Inside your chest pocket, the dog tag vibrates faintly as your breathing shudders. Then, silent, thick, heavy, complete. The wolf lowers itself again. Its eyes meet yours, unblinking. There is no fear in them. Only truth it can't speak. You swallow hard and take one shaky breath. You understand something now. Whatever is behind that door is not him, but something that knows his voice and wants you to believe it. You stand there, listening to a silence that feels engineered. The last echo of that stolen voice still lingers in your skull, not as sound, but as aftertaste, like smoke clinging to the back of your tongue. The wolf shifts first. It takes 2 backward steps away from the door, never turning its back on it. Its tail is low, not tucked, its posture a careful balance between readiness and refusal. You've seen men stand like that in doorways that opened into houses rigged to explode. You drag in air that feels too thin, as though the room itself has decided to ration what you're allowed to breathe. We're done with that, you mutter. Your words fall flat in the cold. You turn away from Chamber B. Not because you're brave, because if you keep looking at that door, you're going to start believing that voice again, no matter how wrong it sounded at the end. The wolf stays between you and it as you cross the room, like a living barricade. You move toward the nearest bank of equipment consoles, their surfaces dusted in frost. Thick cables snake along the floor, frozen mid-loop. A panel labeled communications leans open on one hinge, its switches all flipped to off. You set the canteen down and shove the panel fully open. Your light reveals rows of dials, the paint around them rubbed away from countless fingers. Someone spent a lot of nights here, adjusting, recalibrating, reaching out into static. You brush away ice from one small metal plate at the bottom of the console. External array, remote manual control. Your thumb strokes the edge of the plate. An idea clicks into place. If you can power this, even for a few minutes, Maybe you can ping that frequency again from something stronger than a handheld radio. Maybe you can trace where that last call actually came from. It might not be this station. It might not even be now. You look across the room. A generator sits squat in the corner, a metal beast covered in frost, exhaust vent pointed toward a blocked duct. There's still a fuel gauge under the ice, needle frozen in place. You scrape it clean. The needle rests just above empty. Not much. Maybe nothing usable. You glance at the wolf. It's a bad idea, you say. I know. It watches you steadily. The message from the steel door scratches across the back of your mind. Don't follow the wolves. You are. This time, you're trying to follow a signal. You cross to the generator and check the starter. The pull cord is stiff, bitter cold, making every part feel brittle. You wrap your glove around it and tug. Nothing. You exhale slowly, seeing your breath drift over the machine like mist over a pond. You tug again, harder. The cord jerks, the engine coughs once, a weak, phlegmy sound like someone trying to clear a blocked throat. You adjust the choke, remembering the ancient diesel beasts that powered field outposts in other climates. You murmur to this one like it can hear you. One more. You pull. The generator shudders. For a moment you think that's it, one last death rattle, then something catches. A reluctant rumble stirs in its gut. The whole frame vibrates, sending flakes of frost raining onto the floor. Light flickers overhead. Not full power, pale, struggling fluorescence flares and winks across sections of the ceiling, creating a broken patchwork of illumination that fights with your helmet beam. The wolf flinches at the abrupt change, pupils narrowing, then steadies. The communication console ticks as long-frozen circuits remember what they were built to do. A faint hum builds inside the metal frame by your hand. You move quickly, flicking switches in the sequence your training taught you years ago, the muscle memory still there, even under layers of disbelief. Primary AUX, root. Static explodes from a speaker above the board, raw and loud. It's so sudden you flinch, teeth coming together with a crack. You crank the volume down, bringing the roar to a manageable hiss. Your fingers find the frequency dial. You twist. The static shifts pitch, rising and falling like wind through wire fences. Somewhere buried, you hope there's a pattern. You pause at the numbers from Colton's note. The ones you keyed into your handheld. You hover there, hand steady, and flip the send toggle. The console clicks. Colton, you say, leaning toward the microphone. Your voice sounds alien, flattened by the plastic mouthpiece. If you can hear me, this is. You stop. The name feels strange on your tongue suddenly, like it belongs to someone else. It's me, you finish instead. I'm at Harris Ridge. I found your logs. Static answers. Then faint underneath, something else. You turn the gain up slowly. A distant tone emerges, a steady beep 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 that rattles at the edge of familiarity. You know that rhythms. SOS. Old-fashioned distress call buried in digital chaos. It plays once, twice, 3 times, then stops, replaced by a whisper that makes every hair along your arms stand up beneath your layers. You're late. You grip the console until your knuckles ache. Say your name, you demand. Nothing. The wolf's ears prick toward the speaker, head tilting, as if it's trying to triangulate something you cannot. Static swallows the whisper. Then a new sound rises, one you haven't heard in years. Chatter. Not words, not yet, just the texture of multiple voices layered over each other, a crosshatch of phonemes and breath sounds, as though someone recorded conversations, sliced them to pieces, and is now shuffling them like cards. Snatches emerge. Sector Ridge. They hear, you know they hear. Stay inside, don't. Your skull feels too tight. You slam the volume knob down. The room falls quiet except for the generator's struggling thrum and the restless moan of wind through the ducts. The wolf is staring at you. You realize your jaw is clamped so hard your molars ache. You let it slacken, tasting the faint tang of copper again. That's not a signal, you say softly. That's a patchwork. You kill the send toggle. The console light winks off with a tiny pop. The generator keeps running, but you can feel it straining. The vibrations are uneven, like a heart skipping beats. It won't last long. Your gaze shifts to the far corner of the room. Another door, smaller, less reinforced, label half obscured by frost. You step closer, scraping the surface with your thumb. Records secure. Of course. You glance once more at Chamber B's door, then back. The wolf does the same. You read the look in its posture. If you insist on digging, at least dig in the right place. You push open the records room door. The hinges groan, but the metal gives way easily enough. Your helmet beam cuts through dust and ice, revealing shelves sagging under the weight of binders and tape reels. Plastic casings for old data drives glimmer under a delicate frost glaze. You step inside. The smell here is stronger, old paper and something chemical, faint and bitter, like degenerated plastic. Your light glances off a sign on the back wall. Classified storage, level red. Red. The highest classification. You thread your way between shelves, the wolf padding a single pace behind you now. It breaks its pattern and enters with you this time, nose lifting, inhaling deep. You reach a locked cabinet. Standard keyed latch, no power-based security. Whoever left here put their trust in physical locks and secrecy, not alarms. You pull a small pry tool from your suit, one you carry despite the station's insistence on minimal personal modifications. Old habits die hard. The lock surrenders after a few determined twists. You swing the cabinet door open. Inside are 3 metal boxes, each labeled. Subject files animal. Subject files human. Debrief HARRIS ridge termination. Your throat doesn't constrict this time. It stays loose, almost empty, as if your body has decided to stop warning you. You grab the second box. The lead squeals as you open it. Files neat tabbed, preserved better than you expected. The cold has protected them. You flick your light down each label. H01, H02, H03. Your gloved finger stops. H06. You slide the file out. The tab catches on a rust spot, resists, then gives with a dry whisper. You open it. A photograph is clipped to the first page. You pull it free. The image is grainy monochrome. A man sits on a narrow bed in a room not unlike the one you just searched. He's thinner than in your memories, hair shaved closer, eyes set deeper, ringed with exhaustion. But the angle of the jaw, the line of the mouth, you'd know them anywhere. Colton. Except his gaze doesn't meet the camera. It's tilted slightly to the side, focused on something just out of frame. His hand rests on his knee, fingers curled like he's resisting the urge to reach out. You look at the page under the photo. Name GRADY, Colton J. Status subject H06. Initial transfer redacted. Previous assignment redacted. You blink hard, as if the text might rearrange itself if you stare long enough. Subject. Not patient, not soldier, not consultant. Subject. You turn the page. Clinical evaluation notes march down in tidy lines. Day 3, subject exhibits heightened sensory response to low-frequency audio, notably improved awareness in limited visibility, requests for discharge denied, continue monitoring. Day 7, nighttime episodes intensifying. Subject reports auditory hallucinations, voices in the walls and wolves under the floor. No external source located. Heart rate elevated during episodes, remains normal at rest. Day 12, exposure to animal vocalizations produced unexpected response. Subject entered dissociative state, repeated phrases in foreign languages not previously known to record, recovered with partial amnesia of episode. Your fingers press harder into the paper. You turn another page. The text gets shakier. Day 19, subject claims to recognize specific wolf outside perimeter fence. Insists it is the same one as before despite multiple relocations of test sites. We have not documented previous encounters. Crosscheck requested. Day 22, audio mimicry confirmed. Subject repeats researcher's voice in perfect tone and rhythm, noted with both conscious effort and during sleep. Further testing planned. Your hand starts to tremble. You flip ahead. The handwriting devolves, strokes jagged, ink darker, pressure uneven. Day 30, subject no longer sleeps. Reports that the wolves do like it when I close my eyes. Monitoring equipment registers brainwave patterns similar to REM while fully awake. Wolves outside perimeter exhibit synchronized pacing behavior. Day 31, emergency. Subject spoken voice matching remote contact, classified operations file, claims not to remember afterward, request to terminate program denied, command orders continuation until full capacity reachable. The last line is underlined twice. You look up. The wolf is watching you from the doorway, head low, eyes reflecting your beam. You turn to the final page. The entry is short. Day 32, station lockdown initiated. Subject relocated to Chamber B. Further notes to be logged in incident file. Recommends sealing animal units. Wolves show increased agitation. There is no day 33. You close the file slowly. The box in your hands feels heavier than the metal itself warrants. Colton didn't die where you were told he did. He was taken. He was turned into this. Not the thing in Chamber Bay that you still refuse to name, but into something the program considered progress, something that blurred lines between human and whatever lives out in the ice. Your chest feels hollow. The wolf steps closer, paws silent on the cold floor. It lifts its muzzle, sniffing toward the file as if confirming the scent of the past. You might its gaze. Were you one of them, you whisper? They're wolves. Its ears twitch at the word there. You glance at the first box, subject files, animal. You pull it out, open it. Names are different here, no human codes, just designations. A01, A02. You notice something. Beside each number is a symbol, small hand-drawn, a scar pattern, maybe a patch, maybe a marking. You flip through until one makes you stop. A07, distinctive silver streak along spine, unusual eye reflectivity, tracks subject H06 unprompted. You look up slowly. Your beam lands along the wolf's back. A faint pale streak runs from its shoulders to mid-tail, like a brushstroke of moonlight in dark fur. You hadn't fully registered it before, not with all the shifting light. Your skin goes cold inside your suit. You lower your gaze to the page. The note continues. Shows refusal to approach Chamber B, vocalizes aggressively when subject H06 in containment. Bond appears. The sentence cuts off. A line is drawn through the rest of the paragraph, as if someone tried to erase it. You close the box. Your mind scrambles to fit the pieces together. Colton in Chamber Bay. Wolves outside, pacing, reacting. One wolf refusing to go near his door. And now, decades later, that same animal standing here with you, navigating ice and ruins like it has been waiting for you to arrive. You sink onto the edge of a crate, neighs suddenly unsteady. I left you, you murmur to the wolf, to the files, to a younger version of yourself still sitting in a tent when they told you Colton was gone. The admission slices something raw open inside. You didn't ask enough questions then, didn't push when paperwork appeared too quickly, didn't fight when the story didn't quite line up. You were tired. They counted on that. Now in a forgotten station buried in endless ice, you're reading proof that his story didn't end where you thought. And that whatever it became here wasn't a story anyone should have had. A loud bang jolts you out of your thoughts. Not from Chamber B. Not this time. From outside. The whole structure shivers. Metal beams groan like something heavy just slammed against the exterior wall. Loose binders slide off shelves, thudding against the floor. A distant howl cuts through the air, long, raw, and far too close. The wolf beside you answers with a sharp, guttural bark. You jump to your feet, adrenaline spiking. The file slides from your lap, pages fanning across the floor like fallen feathers. Another impact rattles the building, closer to the main chamber. Wind suddenly surges through a crack somewhere, carrying a new sound with it. The rising scream of a polar storm. You realize with a cold clarity that you've been inside long enough for the weather to turn ugly. You hurry back into the main room. The overhead lights flicker wildly now, stuttering between dim life and total blackness. The generator is coughing, its beat uneven, like a heart crumbling under strain. Snow is blowing in through the open outer door at the front corridor, drifting in whorls across the floor. You hadn't closed it. You hadn't thought you were staying this long. The storm is tasting the entrance, probing with icy fingers. You step toward it. Wind shoves back, almost physical, forcing you to brace. White roars outside. Not gentle flakes this time, thick slashing sheets, driven sideways by a wind that howls across the glacier, erasing everything in its path. The flags you saw earlier are gone, swallowed in a swirling, luminous haze. You can barely make out shapes 5 meters beyond the door. The world has shrunk to a snow globe, shaken hard. You've been in storms like this. They don't just freeze you, they disorient, play tricks with distance and direction. Men have walked in circles a few steps from safety and never found it. The station behind you feels suddenly like both shelter and trap. The wolf stands at your side, fur whipping in the gusts, squinting into the white void. It barks once, a questioning sound this time, almost like it's asking, "In or out?" The generator wheezes behind you. The lights hiss and dim another fraction. Somewhere deeper in the facility, metal pops loud enough to echo. You're running out of powers. Out of time. Out of stable ground. You look from the storm to the corridor that leads back to Chamber B. To the door holding whatever stole Colton's voice. Your pulse hammers so hard your vision swims at the edges for a moment. Stay inside and you'll be trapped with it when the lights die. Go outside and the storm might swallow you before you take 10 steps. The wolf leans forward into the gale, then back, then forward again. It's waiting on you. For the first time tonight, you don't know which version of death would be worse. The wind claws at the entrance like it wants inside. It's no longer a storm. It's a presence. A wall of white roars beyond the threshold, thick and violent, swallowing sound, distance, and sense. The snow doesn't fall, it attacks, slicing sideways in long, wind-driven blades. The chill radiating from it feels sentient, creeping up your suit like fingers searching for a seam. The wolf braces beside you, paws dug into the floor, fur whipping in brutal arcs. Its eyes stay fixed on the storm, pupils narrowed to slits. The station lights flicker again. Once, twice, then hold barely, casting the world in a sickly, stuttering glow. You wipe a hand down your visor. You hear 3 things at once. The generator choking behind you. The storm screaming for you. A soft tapping from deeper inside the station. You know exactly where that tapping comes from. Chamber B. You don't turn. You know if you look at that door while your nerves are hanging by a single, frayed thread, whatever is inside will find its way into your head. It already tried. The wolf takes 1 step away from the storm and nudges your leg, lightly but urgent. In or out? You scan the storm again. Visibility non-existent. Temperature lethal. Noise disorienting. If you step into that white void unprepared, it'll kill you faster than whatever's behind Chamber B. But staying inside with the power failing, that's suicide too. A metal groan rolls through the station's interior support beams, long and low, like the sound a ship makes right before sinking. You glance back toward the generator room. Light flickers, then steadies, then flickers again. It won't last. You swallow the bitter taste rising in your throat. You've survived worse storms, worse odds, worse choices, but never with this little information or this much personal gravity lodged in your chest like a shrapnel shard. You turn to the wolf. What now? It steps past you, not into the storm, not deeper into the station. It moves along the interior wall, nose down, tracing something invisible. You follow, boots slipping slightly on snow-coated metal. The wolf stops halfway between the main entrance and Chamber B's corridor. It paws at the floor. Once, twice, then again faster. You crouch, brush away the snow. Underneath lies a trapdoor latch, rusted, frostbitten, almost fused to the floor. You never would have seen it without the wolf. Your pulse stutters. A sublevel. You grip the latch and yank. It barely moves. You curse under your breath, reposition your hands, and pull with your whole weight. Ice cracks in a violent snap. The hatch lifts a few centimeters, releasing a burst of stale, cold air that smells like dust and preserved metal. You pull again. The door swings upward with a metallic groan. A ladder descends into darkness. Your beam follows it down into a narrow service tunnel barely wide enough for one person. Frost coats every rung, and the sides of the shaft are scored with gouges, scratches from tools or from nails. The wolf circles the opening once, then sits beside it, gaze fixed downward. It wants you to go. It wants to stay up here, guarding, or watching for something you don't want to imagine. The lights flicker again. This time they don't recover immediately. The room dims to a trembling half-light. You feel the decision slot into place inside your bones. You grip the ladders. Test your weight. Begin descending. The metal is so cold your gloves stick slightly to each rung. The hatch swings shut above you, not fully, just enough to reduce the howl of the storm to a muffled roar. For a moment, the wolf's silhouette lingers at the edge, ears pricked toward something behind you. Then it steps back. Darkness swallows the space. You descend. 5 rungs. 10. 15. The ladder ends at a narrow concrete hall, older than the structure above, built before the steel reinforcements and modern insulation. Your boots land on cracked flooring coated in rime. Your breath puffs white clouds that hang motionless in the still air. You sweep your beam. The hallway stretches into blackness, lined with pipes that tremble with each distant gust from the world above. Old emergency lights stud the walls, their housings cracked, their bulbs dead. You take one step forward. A faint vibration trembles beneath your feet. At first you think it's the storm. Then you realize it's rhythmic. Not wind. Not ice shifting. Something mechanical. You follow the corridor. As you walk, the vibration grows stronger. A low hum thrums through the pipes, steady and mechanical in a way nothing topside was. A generator, a battery bank, some forgotten part of the station still drawing tiny, stubborn breaths. Frost dusts the floor in swirling patterns, disturbed recently. Drugs. Human. Barefoot. Just like upstairs. You crouch, examining them. They lie deeper. The corridor opens abruptly into a wide chamber, a maintenance space filled with abandoned equipment, old crates, spools of cable, a rusted cart on frozen wheels, papers glued to the floor where spills once dried and froze. You sweep your beam across the ceiling. More scratches. Deep ones. Long parallel lines gouged into the concrete. Not claw marks. These are too spaced. Too deliberate. As if someone dragged a metal tool over and over into the same grooves. You exhale, throat tight. You move deeper into the chamber. A doorway stands on the far side, half open, heat shimmering faintly from the gap. Actual warmth, the first you felt since descending. Your stomach knots. You step toward it. Inside, the walls glint, not with frost, but condensation. A functioning heater hums in the corner, old, gas-powered, its flames sputtering behind a mesh grate. The room is cramped, lined with shelves stacked with canned rations, water packets, and folded blankets turned stiff with time. And on the floor, footprints. Fresh. Not decades old. Not half-melted. Fresh. Your flashlight trembles in your grip. You hear breathing. Not yours. Slow, deep, human. But wrong. The rhythm is off, like someone learning how to do it for the first time. You edge forward, heart battering your ribs. Someone sits against the far wall, knees drawn up, arms wrapped around them like a child sitting in the cold. Their head is bowed. Hair hangs in frozen clumps around their face. A blanket drapes over their shoulders, stiff with frost and age. You step closer, slowly, quietly. Your light trembles over their form. Your lungs burn. You whisper, "Colton." The figure's head twitches. Not up, just sideways, as if the word struck a nerve it didn't expect. You take one more step. The figure rises. Not smoothly, as if its joints are remembering how to move. It stands to full height, taller than you recall him being, broader at the shoulders, muscles tense under pale, cold skin visible beneath the blanket. Then it lifts its head, and you freeze from the inside out. The face is wrong. Not mutilated. Not monstrous. Just unfinished. Like someone started sculpting a memory of Colton out of human parts and abandoned the project halfway through. Eyes too wide, irises pale and unfocused. Cheeks hollowed, jaw sharper, mouth slightly parted in a mimic of surprise. Skin smooth in places it shouldn't be, no stubble, no scars, no signs of life. And no recognition. It tilts its head at you like an animal listening to an unfamiliar sound. Your stomach twists violently. It whispers, "You left me." Your knees nearly give way. The voice is perfect. Colton's exact voice. But the mouth doesn't shape the words correctly, lips barely move, jaw uncoordinated. Mimicry, not memories. You stagger back, gripping the flashlight like a weapon. The figure steps toward you. Slow, careful, studying, like it doesn't know how to approach prey or someone it's copying. You force out a breath shaped like a warning. Stop. It freezes mid-step. Head tilts the other direction. Stop, it repeats, but the voice breaks halfway, skipping between pitches like a damaged recording. You feel sweat break under your suit despite the cold. "What happened to you?" you whisper. The thing's expression stutters, like its face tries to form an emotion but picks the wrong one. A smile. Wide. Gaping. Horribly misplaced. Then, behind you. Above you. Through the floor. A muffled crash. The storm. The station. The generator. Everything above you shifts in one horrible groan. Your beam flicks upward instinctively. Dust rains from the ceiling. A metal beam screams as something hits the structure with the force of a truck. The mimic flinches, then lifts its head toward the ceiling, and screams. Not Colton's voice. Something deeper. Something not meant for lungs. A layered, inhuman sound that shreds the air. Your survival instincts rip control away from your body. You bolt. Your shoulder slams the doorframe as you sprint into the corridor. Footsteps behind you, heavy, uneven, faster than they should be, pound after you, echoing in the narrow space. You reach the ladder. Jump for it. Hands freeze around the rungs. You climb. Hard. Vast. The thing below claws up the shaft, fingers scraping metal, joints popping. You reach the top. The hatch slams shut. From the outside, the wolf's paws hit the metal, and the snarl that follows is the most vicious sound you've ever heard from an animal in your life. The hatch jumps beneath your hands. Metal bows upward in a sudden, violent jolt that sends a sting through your elbows. The ladder rattles below you as something slams against it from the dark shaft, climbing, forcing its weight upward. You dig your shoulders into the underside of the hatch, arms locked, boots braced against the top rungs. For a heartbeat, your body is the only thing between that unfinished shape and the world above. The thing below hits the metal again. The impact runs through your bones. A sound tears up the shaft, half snarl, half mangled human syllable. OPINs. Your muscles scream. You don't. Above you, claws scrape in a frantic rhythm. The wolf's weight crashes down on the hatch from the other side, paws slamming near your head. It growls, a deep, vibrating sound that pours down through the metal onto your spine. You realize what it did. It heard you climbing, heard what climbed behind you, and chose to drop its whole body weight onto the hatch, saving you. Now all three of you are locked in a vertical tug-of-war. You, the wolf, the thing that wore pieces of your friend's voice like stolen clothing. Another slam from below. The hatch snaps upward a centimeter, just enough to jar your teeth together. Cold air blasts around the edges like the shaft is exhaling. You snarl back through clenched teeth, stay down. You don't know who you're talking to yourself, the wolf or the thing below, but the words give your muscles something to push against. The generator's rumble filters through the floor in uneven pulses, barely audible over the storm battering the station from all sides. Every gust shakes the ladder minutely, the whole structure groaning with each attack. You're balancing between two collapses, one below, one above. The creature slams upward again. This time, the sound that comes with it is wrong in a way your ears don't know how to classify. It hits too many pitches at once, like a chorus singing through one throat. Let MIUPs. The consonants scrape like metal on concrete. Your jaw tightens until it hurts. No. The hatch shudders. Above, the wolf barks a single explosive report. Its claws rake a new pattern into the hatch, searching for more purchase. You can feel its weight shifting as it leans harder, shoulders bunching, every muscle thrown into the effort of keeping that door shut. You've served with men who wouldn't fight this hard unless they'd sworn to a cause. You feel something shift inside your chest, not fear, not exactly anger. Recognition. It hits you then, a series of connections snapping into alignment like rounds chambering in an old rifle. A07, silver streak along spine. Refuses to approach chamber bay. Track subject H06 unprompted. Vocalizes aggressively when subject moved. You picture Colton's file in the records room, the notes about him responding to wolves, calling them the same each time, insisting he recognized one, the one no matter where they went. You picture the carved warning. Follow the wolves. Written by hands that had watched what happened when men did exactly that. They weren't warning you that wolves would lead you to danger. They were warning you not to ignore what the wolves refused to accept. Don't follow them past the threshold they won't cross. Don't override their refusal. Don't drag them into the same room as the thing you stuffed behind steel. The wolf didn't lead you to the sublevel to hand you over to that mimic. It led you to the truth. And now it is using everything it has left to keep the door shut between you and what's below. Your arms are burning. Fine tremors ripple through your muscles, turning your grip into an argument with gravity. You cannot hold this forever. You need something stronger than your body and a determined animal. You need the station itself. Okay, you pant. Okay, new plan. You lower one hand from the hatch, just for a second, long enough to reach down and fumble at your belt. The metal flexes against your remaining palm, but the wolf hurls its mass down again, growl ripping through the hinges. Your fingers find your multi-tool. You flick it open. Find the longest piece of metal, flat, sturdy. You jam it into the gap where hatch meets frame, twisting until it wedges deep into rust and ice. Your body weight alone is no longer the only barrier. The thing below slams into the hatch again. The metal jumps, but the wedge holds, creaking with the strain. You suck air into your lungs like fuel and shove upward with your shoulders one last time, forcing the edges to bite harder into the makeshift brace. Hold, you rasp. This time you know exactly who you're asking. The wolf snarls and slams down again, as if answering, I will. You release one hand entirely now, fingers tingling as blood tries to remember how to circulate. You fumble for the side of the shaft and haul yourself, inch by inch, sideways. Your boots scrape the rungs. Your elbow knocks metal hard enough to send sparks of pain into your bicep. With a strangled grunt, you twist your body out and roll onto the station floor. You lie there for 2 seconds. Just 2. The hatch bucks behind you, the floor jumping under your spine. Then the wolf lunges past your shoulder, planting its front paws directly over the center of the hatch, teeth bared, throat vibrating, with the kind of fury that doesn't come from fear. You push yourself upright, legs unsteady. A fresh impact slams from below. The wedge shrieks. Metal screams. Floor plates tremble. You don't wait to see if it holds. You stumble and back toward the main chamber, the wolf darting ahead, then back, hurting you with quick, urgent glances. Your brain keeps trying to default to it. A test subject, a designation, A07. But that's not what this animal is in your head anymore. It's a partner. You barrel into the records room, grab the last untouched metal box, debrief, HARRIS ridge termination, and yank the lid off. Papers fan up in a brittle cascade. You seize the top sheet. It's not a careful report. It's a confession written under duress, handwriting messy, lines slanting, ink blotted where the pen paused too long. You scan it, light jittering with every breath. Incident summary. Containment breach during final phase. Subject H exhibited full vocal mimicry of off-site command and internal personnel. Wolves reacted with extreme distress. A refused perimeter proximity. Command directive. Order came via unverified channel to open chamber B. Wolves would not enter corridor. H06 used emotional leverage, personal voices, to compel human staff to override safety. Result, fatalities, structural compromise. Wolves began aggressive behavior exclusively toward chamber B entry. Your throat tightens. You read the next lines 3 times to be sure. Subject H06 regained momentary clarity during second breach attempt. Initiated lockdown from inside, trapping itself with entity copy. Ordered remaining personnel to evacuate via lower tunnels. You can barely process the next sentence. Last recorded audio. H06 instructs A07 to keep them away from this place. The paper slips in your grip. You see Fort Red dust, a tent, the day they told you your friend died under enemy fire, not in an Arctic lab, an easy lie, neat, patriotic, unchallenged. Colton's last order wasn't on that field. It was here, and he gave it to a wolf. You skim the rest. Termination decision. Program deemed unstable, station sealed, records redacted, remaining animal subject A released into surrounding environment, unable to be recalled, recommended no reoccupation. Someone signed it and then scribbled over their own name as if trying to erase themselves from the chain. You lift your head. The wolf stands just inside the doorway, breath coming in quick bursts, eyes locked on you now, not the hatch. Keep them away from this place. The signal that pulled you here. The false voice mimicking your friend. The wolves' refusal to enter certain rooms. It flips inside your mind, the shape of this whole nightmare. The thing in chamber B learned how to call people back. To sound like the dead. To beg for doors to be opened. The only reason it stayed locked this long was because one man chose to sacrifice himself and one animal refused to disobey him. And you walked straight into the trap anyway. A boom shakes the station so hard you stumble. Not below. Above. The storm has achieved full fury, slamming ice against the roof like thrown stones. A steel support groans somewhere overhead. A conduit rips free and crashes to the floor, skittering sparks. The generator coughs once, twice. Dies. Light disappears. For a moment you are inside, pure black. No siling. No floor. Just the weight of collapsed history pressing in. You flick your helmet lamp back on. Its beam feels thin against this much dark, but it's enough to see the wolf's outline and the path back to the main corridor. Snow knifes in through the entrance now, billowing in confused spirals. The white outside is absolute. No horizon, no station, no flags. You feel the whole building shudder. This place will not survive this storm. If you stay when the old beams give way and the hull folds, the mimic below will finally be buried. So will you. If you leave, there's a chance the thing stays locked anyway, entombed under new tons of ice and concrete. And with you goes the only remaining witness. The only person who can tell the real version of what happened here. You tuck the debrief sheet into your jacket with the other files and Colton's photo. They crinkle against your chest, a layered weight over the tag that bears your own name. You turn to the wolf. Its ears tilt forward. You point toward the entrance. We're leaving, you say, and we're not coming back. Its gaze flicks to the corridor leading to Chamber B, then to the hatch, then back to you. As if asking, will it hold? You don't know. You give it the only answer that feels honest. We'll make sure it doesn't matter. Another impact ricochets through the floor from below, as if the mimic is throwing itself against the sublevel structure, desperate not to lose its only new voice in years. The hatch clangs in protest. The wolf bares its teeth, shoulders snapping tight. Then it does something you don't expect. It walks to you. Not past, not circling. Directly to you. It presses its head briefly against your hip. The contact is firm, deliberate, gone in an instant. You feel the message anyway. We go together. You step into the storm. The white hits you like a wall. Wind slams your body sideways, nearly knocking you off your feet. Snow particles scour your visor in a constant, stinging stream. Your world shrinks to the faint gray shape of the doorway behind you in the dark, low form of the wolf at your side. You force your legs to move. Step, plant, line into the wind. Repeat. The station behind you groans. You don't look back, but you hear the metal frame complaining, a long, tortured wail as the storm grips it and shakes. Aurora light bleeds through the blizzard overhead, ghostly green smears trailing across the sky like bruises under the whiteout. They flicker in your peripheral vision, painting fleeting shadows where there should be none. The wolf pushes against your thigh occasionally, keeping you oriented when your sense of direction starts to stagger. You realize it's not just guiding you away from the station. It's guiding you away from the cracks. Every time your foot slides toward a hollow, it veers, nudging you back onto safer ice. The storm roars past your helmet. Inside, your radio crackles. You assume it's interference until words separate themselves from the noise. You there. The voice is faint, buried. You slow, cupping a gloved hand to your ear out of habit. Lena, you shout, though the wind tries to tear the word apart. Static answers. Then, negative signal coming from your position only, old relay. Her tone is strained, pushed through interference. The old relays. Harris Ridge. You swallow hard. You press transmit. Lena, listen. When this is over, I need you to log something for me, and I need you to make sure it doesn't get buried. The wolf tugs ahead, urging you not to linger, not to let the storm decide your fate. You follow, lungs burning, knees furious with each trudged step. Thunder rolls under the wind, not from the sky, but from the ice behind you. You don't have to see it to know. Something in the station just gave way. You feel it as a subtle shift in the glacier beneath your boots, a tiny settling, like the world lowering a shoulder. Snow swirls thicker. The radio crackles again. What's happening out there? You don't answer immediately, because another sound has cut through the blizzard. A howl. Deep. Ringing. Not the wolf beside you, who stays silent, head low against the gale. This one comes from behind, from where Harris Ridge stood. It isn't an animal sound. It's too stretched, too layered, saturated with a static buzz that makes your teeth ache. The thing below, roaring into a storm that doesn't care. You keep moving. Colton didn't die where we were told, you say into the mic, forcing the words out between breaths. He died making sure something stayed locked up. We're going to keep it that way. Static hisses. Lena's voice comes back, thin but determined. You come back and tell me the rest yourself, yeah. You look at the wolf. Its eyes catch a brief flicker of aurora light, glowing an unnatural green. Not from the thing in the station. From the sky itself, reflecting in lenses honed by decades of picking paths across dangerous ice. You manage a harsh, breathless almost laugh. Yeah, you say, that's the plan. You press forward. The storm eats your footprints as quickly as you make them. Somewhere behind you, under fresh tons of ice and twisted steel, the last remains of Chamber B buckle and bend. The hatch you left wedged will either hold or vanish in the collapse. The mimic will either be entombed again or rage against a prison no one will ever find. But you will carry the truth out of this white, and the wolf will carry its last order. Keep them away from this place. And as the aurora strengthens overhead, its colors bleeding through the storm like veins of electric light, you start to understand. The wolves were never the monsters in this story. They were the guardians. You were never just a man running from ghosts. You were the one person the ghosts needed to remember. The air grows marginally clearer ahead, still violent, still lethal, but less opaque. The faint outline of the distant station's lights, your real station, your present flicker through the white like a constellation seen through fog. The wolf pauses beside you. It looks back once, just once, toward the place where Harris Ridge is being erased. Then it faces forward with you. And together you walk toward the fragile glow that means there is something left to save. The storm does not let you go easily. It fights you every meter, ripping at your suit, stealing your breath, trying to tear you off the glacier and bury you somewhere no one will ever find. Snow slashes sideways across your visor in relentless sheets that turn the world into a strobing blur of white and shadow. Your legs feel carved from stone. Your lungs scrape raw each time you inhale the frigid air. But the wolf stays beside you, steady as a metronome in chaos. Whenever your footing slips, its shoulder presses into your knee. Whenever you veer off course, it loops back, nudging you toward the right line. Whenever your breath falters, it emits a short, sharp bark, almost like a command to focus. You don't know how long you've been walking. Time dissolves inside the storm. Your world becomes three things: the crunch of boots, the burning in your chest, the dark wolf-shaped anchor guiding you. Then, a light flickers ahead. Not auroras, not lightnings. A warm, amber glow smothered behind the storm's veil. The station. Your actual station. The one full of living people who think you're still following weather beacons or checking boundary flags. Your knees buckle with relief, so sudden it feels unreal. The wolf stops beside you, tail low, ears forward. Together you push through the last brutal gust and stumble into the station's outer perimeter, where the wind breaks just enough for shapes to form. The entrance hatch shines like a beacon. Bootprints in the snow, multiple, laid toward you. Shadows move behind the frosted window panes. They've been looking for you. Figures spill out of the hatch, bundled in heavy jackets, headlamps cutting through the white. Arms wave. Voices shout. Someone grabs your shoulder. You blink into the light and see Lena's face, only her eyes visible behind her frozen goggles. Jesus, you look like a ghost, she shouts over the wind. Get inside, move. You stagger forward with their support. Hands shove you through the hatch into warmth that feels almost violent after the storm's grip. Heat slams into your frozen limbs, sending pins and needles racing through your skin. Someone pulls your helmet off. Stale, warm air floods your senses. Another voice shouts, "Where's the wolf I saw?" You spin. The wolf stands just outside the hatch, storm tearing at its fur, snow collecting along its back like dust on an old grave. Its eyes lock on yours, steady, luminous knowing. Lena shouts, "Get it inside before it freezes out there." Hands start to move toward the door. No. The word cracks out of you before you think. Everyone freezes. Your chest heaves. You shake your head. He stays out there, you manage. He's not a pet, he's not ours. Lena stares at you. He followed you through a Class 4 whiteout. You swallow. No, you say quietly, I followed him. Behind the glass, the wolf lowers its head, not in fear, not in shame, but in acknowledgement. It turns toward the storm. A gust swallows it, and it is gone. The door slams shut. Warmth wraps around you. Hands guide you to the med bay. Someone presses a heated pack into your palms. Someone else shoves a blanket over your shoulders. Voices blur together. Where were you? Did you fall? Your suit's frozen solid. Your vitals are all over the place. You need fluids. Your radio was dead. You don't answer. You can't. Not yet. You sit on the exam bench, letting the warmth crawl slowly back into your body. Every nerve wakes up like a limb returning from the dead. Then Lena kneels in front of you. Her goggles are gone. Her face is flushed from cold, eyes sharp with questions she hasn't asked yet. What happened out there? You hesitate. How do you explain a mimic in the ice? A man turned into a subject. A wolf who kept a last order for decades. But something shifts inside you, some tight, locked door finally opening. You reach into your jacket. Your fingers close around the files. The photo. The dog tag. The metal is warm from your chest. You lay everything on the bench between you and Lena. Her eyes widen at the stack of yellowed documents, frost-cracked pages, and the old, dented canteen marked CG. What is this? She whispers. You answer with the simplest truth. Proof. She looks at you like she wants to argue, wants to believe this is just cold exhaustion delusion or hypothermic confusion. Then she picks up Colton's photo. Her breath catches. Who is this? Your voice cracks on its way out. Someone I was supposed to bury years ago. You let the sentence sit. Then another truth pushes its way out. The official story was a lie. Everything they said happened somewhere else, to someone else, and the real place they left behind is collapsing under the storm right now. Lena's face blanches. You mean, she lowers her voice, the old relay, the one we picked your signal up from. You nod. Her jaw flexes. You're going to have to tell me everything. You look at the doors. You think of the howl that ripped the storm when the station began to collapse, rage twisted with hunger. You think of the wolf pressing its head to your hip just once before leading you away. You think of the warning burned into that steel door. Follow the wolves. It wasn't a warning to run from them. It was a warning to listen to them. You breathe in slowly. And begin. You tell her about Chamber B. About the voices. About the mimicry. About what Colton became in that final moment, not the creature twisting in the ice, but the soldier who locked the door from the inside. You tell her about A07. About the silver streak. About the tunnel. About the hatch. About how it saved you. You do not spare yourself. When you finish, Lena sits silently on the stool across from you, staring at the pile of documents as if they might wake up and explain themselves. Finally, she asks, why did it call you? Why after all this time? You look down at your hands. You think of Colton's laugh. His voice. His loyalty. His bone-deep refusal to abandon anyone ever. And the mimic's distorted version of his voice. Calling. Begging. Imitating friendship like a lure. I don't know, you say. Maybe it sensed movement in the glacier. Maybe the storm woke it. Maybe it heard the wolves. But deep down, you know the truth buried under all the maybes. It called you because it remembered you through Colton's memories. Because something about you mattered to whatever he became in his final hour. Because unfinished things call to the living. You rest your hand on your chest. Your dog tag presses back. We can't let anyone dig there, you say. Not now, not ever. Lena nods. You're right, and this, she picks up the first file, hand trembling. This is enough to make the world listen. You close your eyes. You hear a faint howl outside, not the mimic's distorted wail, but a clean, sharp call cutting through the dying storm. The wolf. You open your eyes. No, you whisper, this isn't for the world. Lena frowns. You grip the edge of the bench. It's for Colton, you say, and for the wolves that kept his last order. Outside, the wind begins to settle. The storm is ending. But a different kind of truth is only beginning. Morning comes slowly in the Arctic. Not as a sunrise, just a gradual thinning of darkness, a softening of edges, a pale line of silver where night begins to unclench its grip on the horizon. You stand outside the station, your body wrapped in a heavy coat, your boots buried ankle-deep in fresh snow, your breath curling in slow, steady clouds. The storm has passed, but it didn't leave quietly. A jagged, unnatural ridge of fractured glacier rises in the distance, the remains of Harris Ridge, buried under tons of collapsed ice. The wind rolls down from that direction in low, mournful sighs, as if the earth itself is trying to forget what it had to swallow. You tighten your grip on the mug of coffee, turning cold in your hands. No voices drift on the wind anymore. No metallic groans echo under the ice. No mimicry calls your name. Silence has reclaimed what it once lost. Only one shape moves out there now. The wolf. It stands at the edge of visibility, where the ice field meets the morning's first faint glow. Snow clings along its sides. A silver streak runs clean down its spine, now unmistakable to you. A07. The Guardian. Colton's final ally. It doesn't approach. It simply watches you. A quiet acknowledgement. A shared understanding. Footsteps crunch up behind you. Lena stops beside you without speaking, folding her arms against the cold. For a minute, you both watch the wolf in silence, two humans trying to understand something ancient that doesn't need their permission. Finally, Lena murmurs, "It's waiting." For what, you ask? Her answer is soft. For you to be done. You exhale slowly. The air tastes of morning frost and something quieter, acceptance maybe, memory, a kind of peace you haven't felt since long before this winter. You kneel in the snow and set the mug aside. From your pocket, you pull two things. Your dog tag. Colton's canteen, with his initials scratched deep into the metal. The two objects weigh more together than they ever did apart. You clear a small patch of snow and set the canteen down gently. Your gloved thumb brushes the initials one last time before you let go. Then you place your dog tag beside it. Not as an offering, not as surrender, as a promise. Lena watches quietly, understanding more than she says. You going to tell command? She asks. You shake your head. No. They'll demand a report. They'll get one, you say, just not the one that sends a recovery team out there. Lena nods. You're trying to respect whatever happened, she says, him, them. They kept the world safe, you reply. The least we can do is keep their grave intact. Your gaze drifts back to the wolf. It hasn't moved, hasn't blinked, hasn't turned away. You step forward. The snow crunches softly beneath your boots. The cold nips at your exposed cheeks. Your breath trails behind you like steam rising from a cooling engine. When you're close enough, the wolf lowers its head. You kneel in front of it. Your glove hesitates. Then you reach out. Your palm settles lightly against the side of its neck, sinking into warm fur thick with winter's armor. The animal doesn't flinch. It leans in, just barely, an echo of the moment it pressed its head to your hip at the station. A gesture of recognition. A gesture of goodbye. Your throat tightens. You did good, you whisper. He'd be proud of you. The wolf's breath fogs in the cold between you. Its eyes, ice-colored, steady, ancient, shift past your shoulder toward the buried ruins of Harris Ridge. Then back to you. It steps away. Turns. Walks toward the open expanse of glacier. You rise slowly. Lena watches, breath caught somewhere between awe and sorrow. Where is it going? She murmurs. You answer softly. To keep watch. The wolf pauses once more before the horizon, silvery spine, catching the faint morning glow like a streak of moonlight caught in ice. Then it disappears into the endless white. You stand there long after it's gone. Not because you're waiting for it to come back, but because part of you finally understands why it ever came in the first place. Back inside the station, warmth wraps around you like an old blanket. You sit at your desk in a quiet corner, a real pen in your hand, something permanent, something honest. You begin writing an account. Not for command. Not for governments. Not for scientists hungry for new mysteries to exploit. For Colton. For A07. For the truth that no one else will carry unless you do. You write until your hand cramps. You write until the last of the Arctic night gives way to the first true morning. And when you finally stop, setting the pen down with a long, steady exhale, it feels like placing a stone on a grave. A marker, a memory, a promise kept. That evening, you stand outside again. The sky is clear. The aurora curls overhead in soft green waves, gentler now, slower, like it's drifting to sleep. The air is still. The stars are sharp as carved ice. You lift your face to the light. And in that quiet, under that sky, something inside you finally settles. The cold doesn't bite so sharply. The grief doesn't burn so deep. The past doesn't pull so hard. You survived. You remembered. You honored him. And somewhere out in the white, a wolf carries the rest. You're halfway back to the station door when you hear it. A single distant howl. Long, clean, beautiful. Not a warning. Not a call for help. Not a scream from something trapped in ice. Just a voice on the wind saying, "He remembers you too." You stand still, eyes stinging, breath cold, heart warm. You don't answer with words. You just lift your face toward the stars and let the sound settle over you like a benediction.